Welcome into the Inquirer podcast. It is Jeremy Werner, Joey Wagner here late at night at Memorial Stadium. Geese Memorial Stadium. Still trying to teach myself that as Illinois in the first game of Geese Memorial Stadium defeats Western Michigan 38-0. We're going to break down the hits and misses from this game as we always do as Illinois improves to 3-0. And Joey, if you would have told us before the game 38-0, we would have said, great. That's a phenomenal performance. Let's go to Bloomington and let's see what Illinois and Indiana have in a top 25 matchup. But the first half, Western Michigan's knocking on the goal line to make it a 10-7 game. And you're thinking, man, how did this happen to where a Western Michigan team that's now 0-3 that really can't move the ball that well is right there in the game. But Kenneth Odeluga makes the big stop. We'll talk about it more. But another first half that felt really disappointing, in a second half that made you kind of not overlook it, but make you feel way better going into the next week. So kind of followed a similar script to the Duke game, just a different opponent. And we do have to say Duke lost today at Tulane 34-27. I don't know why Power 4 teams are going down to Tulane. But, yeah, Joe, similar script than last week.
Yeah, really similar script. I actually thought this first half was entirely more disappointing. Duke, you can talk your way through that. They're an aggressive defense, and Western Michigan was too. You're on the first road trip, Power 4 team. You could buy a little bit of that. I mean, I'm not saying it was something you're asking for, but you could at least talk your way out of that. This first half today was really disjointed, was really uninspiring. You can't start like that in Bloomington next week and expect to get out of there with the win. I credit to Brett Bielema. It was a fun presser because at first it sounded like he was just going to do the whole I'm glass half full, try to get, not want to be a glass half empty. But the more you pulled on the threads, all of the frustration that people in this chat are feeling, or people on our boards, or people on social media, justified. And Brett Bielema was feeling a very similar way. It was fun. That's the fun part about pressers sometimes, is to watch that kind of all come out a little bit and pull that thread. But yeah, that was really, really, really a disappointing start. They punted on 3 of the 5 first half possessions, 2 of which were all three of the punts were 3 and outs. I mean, you can't have that.
So let's start there. The big miss of the game is another slow start in the first half for the Illinois offense. And there were a lot of similar issues that we saw at Duke. And I thought the offensive line didn't start off well. I felt like Illinois also was just kind of running into loaded boxes. And it just felt like the play calling wasn't as sharp as it needed to be. And what was frustrating for me, Joey, is you saw all of these blitzes off the edge, just the aggression, the kind of same thing we saw against Duke, a little different. But Illinois just kind of having these long developing plays and then getting back into the huddle and coming back out, and just there was no rhythm to it. And it felt frustrating because it took too long. Well, it shouldn't have to take till halftime to make adjustments. You can make adjustments after 2 drives or even after the first drive, figuring out what they do. So I think the world of Barry Lundy is an offense coordinator, and boy, did he figure it out in the second half. But as you said, you can't wait until the second half against Indiana because your defense probably isn't going to shut that team out. Indiana's got an explosive offense with a good quarterback, good wide receivers. You can't keep spotting teams those opportunities to widen the lead or hang around in a game. So kudos to the Illinois defense for keeping them in and getting that stop with Kenneth Odeluga at the goal line. But it's just disjointed. It feels like that shouldn't have happened for a second straight week against this team. And Bielema said he went into the locker room at halftime, broke a board. He had a swollen hand after the game. Might have to get it checked out. But I like that. I like that Brett Bielema went into halftime and reamed into his team to give him a jolt of energy for anything, Joey, but also just say, this isn't good enough, guys. And after the game, as you're talking about the press conference, he wasn't like, 38-0, everything's good. He knows that they have higher expectations now. 3-0, halfway to a bowl game, that's great. If you want to go to Indiana and win the game, if you want to beat USC at home, you got to be way better than you were in the first half. And you can't take that long to figure it all out.
No, that's like, I'm sure he wasn't very happy about the halftime score of this game, but I think he was just as pissed off about what this could be next week in Bloomington, and the fact that this is a way better team than being within an inch at the goal line of a 3-point game against Western Michigan, which was, to be honest, like Western Michigan is a middle of the pack, will probably end up a middle of the pack MAC team. right? Like this isn't Western Illinois that came in here, an FCS team, but if you're the number 9, it's what we talked about before the game, right? If you're the number 9 team in the country, that's not that's not representative of what we know this team can be, but also it cannot be that next week in Bloomington. So I like that fire from Brett Bielema to come in and challenge it. I'm also happy he kind of aired it out to us a little bit. Brett Bielema post-game press conferences are informative, they're real, they're unfiltered, and I very much enjoy hearing how he feels. And he said he was mad about the 3rd and 1 call. With everyone knew, 1, that Western Michigan was going to bring pressure, and 2, that Caden Fagan on 3rd and 1 was going to get the ball. And you just run it up the middle into pressure, you lose 2 yards. That's not a good play call. That's not good enough.
Bielema said he botched it. He said Lunny botched that call. I love that because we felt the same thing. Like, we go after the offensive line. Like, you got to put them in position to succeed. And that was a loaded box. With even if Caden Fagan's good, like, he can't break through 5 tackles most of the time just to get back to the line of scrimmage. That just didn't set him up for success. So while there was offensive line issues, there weren't a lot of offensive line issues in the second half yet again, because I just thought the play calling was a little bit better, put them in a little bit better positions to succeed. And it came back to we kept following up. I was proud of ourselves as the beat, keep picking at, what was wrong in the second half. And I love that Brett actually talked to us about, or what was wrong in the first half with the offense. And it came back to, he thinks they got to get in more tempo, up the tempo a little bit, because that's where Luke Altmaier is great. He is just, it's where he's played all his life, and we've seen it throughout his career. When they're going no huddle, he is just in a better rhythm. And I think, Joey, the offensive line gets into a better rhythm, and they feel like the defense is playing on their heels a little bit. So offensive line was great. Luke Altmaier was great in the second half. They weren't in the first half. So maybe leaning more into that. And you and I talked about using the pass to set up the run a little bit more. They found, finally getting some screens, some RPOs, just something to get the ball out quickly to take advantage of all this aggression. There's going to be openings in the passing game, and they finally found that a little bit in the second half.
Yeah,
a lot in the second half.
Yeah, I think there was a point in that first drive in the second half. 2 drives started at the 47. I mean, the defense put the offense in the situation to go do some work, but it got to a few points where, like, they should do nothing but RPO. I mean, Luke Altmaier is a really smart quarterback. He's really comfortable. He told me, he said he grew up in tempo, grew up in SEC country, grew up in tempo. He said it's just like playing backyard football. He's comfortable in that. Let one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten do what he's comfortable doing, and he's got such a command and such a grip of this offense. Let him make those decisions at the line of scrimmage. I did ask him regarding that 3rd and 1. I said, do you have autonomy? Can you get out of that play if you get to the line? And he has he gets a lot of wiggle room at the line of scrimmage. I didn't get the sense, I don't want to misquote him, so I do want to go back and transcribe. I didn't get the sense that when it's 2nd, 3rd, and 1, they seem to know, like, hey, this is schemed up to get Caden Fagan going. But obviously, Western Michigan brought some heat on that. So we just build on it a little bit, Jeremy. Another miss, really, if I could, is the communication up front. And we talked about it before. The guy came off the edge, Tanner Arkin whiffed. I mean, Tanner Arkin's one of the best blockers on this team. That doesn't happen. It feels like there's some sort of communication along the offensive front with Luke Altmaier that needs to be cleaned up here, because there's not that wide of a gap from drive to drive for what you see from the offensive line in the first half and what you see in the second half. You got to find a way to even get in the middle of that. And I think there's a lot of communication they've got to figure out.
Yeah, and Def makes a good point that I was going to bring up here. $4.99 Super Chat. Thank you, Def. Was it midway through the season last year where Luke and Pat Bryant were both saying, like, we like to go up tempo a little bit more. The offense was struggling a little bit. So we actually heard them a little bit say to our offense coordinator, like, hey, we need to do this. We wrote stories about that. So it's just interesting that Barry hasn't, like, leaned more into that. I don't know if he just wants to run the ball. This is a passing team. And I think the pass can really open up a lot of things in the run game, and it certainly did in the second half. So my spin on that, Joey, would be not to avoid the defense, which was a huge hit today with the shutout, but second half, phenomenal. That's everything you want. Like, the second half, they have been so good offensively the last 2 weeks, where it's like they score touchdowns on most of their drives in the second half. They've now outscored their opponent 59-6 the last two games in the second half, and the offense is just a machine. And you see what this group can be against a good Duke team, against a not great Western Michigan team, but a Western Michigan team, I think, with a really good defensive front. And I think their coordinator did a really nice job tonight. But you see what they can be. And when Luke Altmaier gets in that rhythm, man, he can pick you apart. Caden Fagan getting downhill, Khalil Valentine, freaking jolt of lightning in that run game with the way he can make people miss and get upfield. So that's a great part is you have seen the offense live up to their potential in the second half. You just wish you'd see a little bit in the first half and just spread it out a little bit more so you don't go into Indiana and be down 21-7 because you get another slow start.
Yeah, if you're down 21-7 at halftime at Indiana, that place is going to be rocking. It's going to be a heck of a task to come back with the talent. With that, I'm imagining that's going to be one of the better atmospheres, Jeremy, we've seen in a little bit. Nebraska was really, really good last year. I think the second half was very much what we think is the strength of this team is short passes, RPOs, set up the run, lighten the box, make them pay for their aggression. Teams are going to be aggressive on Illinois in terms of blitzing and bringing pressures from here and there until Illinois makes teams stop being very, very aggressive on that. Duke wrote the script. Western Michigan followed it. I would imagine Indiana is going to follow it too. So this probably is a pass, and maybe it's RPO screens to set up the run. Because when that box lightens up, Khalil Valentine has just juice. He really, he gets the ball, and he's already 4 or 5 yards upfield before you can even blink, before he's even making his move. And I was really encouraged with what Caden Fagan did in that second half. I know the first half, there wasn't particularly great. The offensive line didn't help him out. But that second half, he was moving people and bringing them with him. And I think that unlocks – that felt like a moment for Caden Fagan to get rolling a little bit.
Yeah, he's another hit I have, so I feel bad delaying the defense here, but I just want to build on your point. Caden Fagan's first 6 carries went for 14 yards. And some of that was not on him. Some of it was, though. There were a few plays where it was slow. He wasn't decisive again. But we've talked about it. It's taken Caden last couple of years, just a few games, to get that train going, or I guess the Arthur wagon, to get him going downhill, Joey, to steal your term. Last 14 carries tonight, 86 yards and a touchdown for Caden Fagan. That's why I think Illinois really wanted to get Caden Fagan a lot of touches tonight. Khalil Valentine was good. Khalil Valentine is extremely exciting. He's a hit tonight because you just see he might not have the cleanest in front of him, but he can make somebody miss, get upfield, accelerate so quickly. The future is so bright for him. He's got some Keyshawn Vaughn stuff to him. I just think he can be a next level running back. But you need a guy like Caden Fagan that can pound it, can get those extra yards and just wear on a team. Play that Josh McCray role. McCray played it well last year. Shout out Josh McCray, game-winning touchdown at Tennessee today. But you see why Caden Fagan is so important. And, Joey, it felt like they came into this game trying to get him going because they need it. They need it going into Big Ten play because not a lot of Big Ten teams have a backfield like Illinois. So to get all those guys, to get Caden and Khalil Valentine, combined 30 touches for 176 yards, that was a positive for the running game after that, first half.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett Bielema said they saw something this week with Caden Fagan that was starting to click, and this has followed a pretty similar script with him during the healthy point of the last 2 years, where it takes a minute, it takes a game, and then all of a sudden you're looking up and he's running like you think he can run. So you and I are both, we all watch, right? I'm not going to pretend like that first half was a perfect display of running back performance from Caden Fagan, but I did think that it started to get going. He said the long run down the home sideline was really kind of one of those moments. I thought it was the run right before his 1-yard touchdown run that he hit the edge, and it's just you could almost see the steam start to pick up with him a little bit. And you're right, they need him, need Khalil Valentine, who's really got some swagger to him
confidence
right now.
Yeah.
He's dropping his shoulder. What's the Creed Bratton? He don't give an F about nothing. And he doesn't. He will run into contact. He's clearly comfortable with who he is out there. Then you mix in Aiden Lawfrey with that, and that's a really encouraging run game. And if you can keep playing with tempo, if you can keep getting some of those quick hitters outside and lighten that box, then you've got a lot of different skill sets. And that feels like how this team is designed to operate. And it's just a matter of getting there. And I would like to see, I think they've got the defense, Jeremy, when this might be a segue into the defense ultimately.
Well, can I hit on something?
Yeah,
can I hit on something else? You're a fan of an NFL team that throws the ball extremely well.
Yeah,
Like,
awesome.
it just makes things so easy for running backs, doesn't it? Like, it's amazing what that does. So you have an amazing quarterback. I think he opens things up for the running backs. But to go on Caden, everybody listening to this has had frustrations with him because it doesn't look like he's running hard or running downhill right away or inviting contact. Or for me, it's been a lot about being indecisive. Chatting with him after the game, he said all of those things. He said, yeah, that's exact. I went back to my film from the last couple of years, and it's just I looked different. And I said, what was it? He said, I wasn't as decisive. I wasn't just running fast. I wasn't hitting the hole as hard as I need to. So hopefully tonight clicks that because, man, when Caden Fagan is rolling, he's a really productive back. And have him and Khalil and Aiden Lawfrey, you're going to need all three of those guys this year. So it's not just give 20 touches to Khalil Valentine because they all give you something different and all give opponents something that they have to work against. And when you have Luke flowing and those running backs and that offensive line, it's a really dangerous offense.
Yeah, I do think some of Khalil Valentine's success in the same way as Caden, like it's built when defenses are used to seeing Caden, and then all of a sudden you've got a completely different gear. Brett Bielema has talked about, especially with linebackers in particular, when you're running inside zone and there's such a drastic difference in terms of speed and movement and acceleration. So I do think those two play off of each other well, Aiden Lawfrey as well. But to get back to the tempo real quick, I think this will segue, Jeremy. The concern with going full speed tempo is if things go south, you're putting your defense out there a lot, right? There's not a lot of sideline time. I think this defense can handle a couple of those. I've been very impressed with what this defense has been. And I do think there's kind of a window there. If, okay, this tempo didn't work, we'd hate to put our defense back out there. Hey, they can do it. Yeah. They're a good defense to get that done. And that defensive front, Jeremy, I think has continued to be really, really impressive to me.
Let's dive more into the defense. We'll take your super chats. We'll take your questions later on in this podcast as well. But let's hit one of our great sponsors first. So our ad guy, Alex, likes to send me some of the product that we sponsor on this show so I can share some anecdotes about the product, which is great. It's fantastic that he does it. But when a cooler full of Omaha steak shows up at my door, I get a little excited because they are fantastic. My wife and I ripped immediately into the sirloins and cooked those up just based on the grilling guide they send along with you. So even if you don't have great grill experience, they tell you exactly how to cook these things to perfection. And I got to say, these are some of the tenderest steaks I've ever had. Since then, I've had their chicken breast. I always have chicken in the fridge, but this chicken was some of the tenderest I've ever had. We just had some of the sirloin tips. Just fantastic meat all around. And that's what you get with Omaha Steaks. Handcrafted steaks to other family grilling favorites. They deliver the world's best steak experience. They also have juicy burgers, deli-style franks, meaty chicken wings, and more. And it's grilling season, guys. We've got Labor Day right around the corner. And of course, you need something for your tailgates at the Illini football game. There's nothing like adding the sizzle of Omaha steaks to your grilling tailgate. So stock up now and celebrate Labor Day with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Labor Day sale and add an extra $35 off if you use promo code Illini at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code Illini at checkout. See site for details.
All right, Joey, let's dive into Omaha Steaks at 11 o'clock when I'm hungry. What are we doing?
All right, Joey, dive into the other big hit, the defense here. What do you want to talk about with them?
One, I think the front played well, but I do want to zoom in real quickly. I know he left with an injury. Xavier Scott was awesome.
Great.
That is the game. Like, I know the takeaway number wasn't there, right? But that is the type of game that you want from your number one, let's say, corner nickel, which obviously is a little bit of both of those right now. Man, he was really impressive. That looked like the dude, like an NFL dude back there. I'm finding the stats here.
He had 2 PBUs, a tackle and a half for loss. The way he read those screens, the way he attacked them, a lot of that is just film study, pulling the trigger, the stuff we talked about with Ryan Walters, with Devin Witherspoon, Sidney Brown, all those guys. You can just tell he's a disciple of all of that, but he just reads those so well. It's what Caleb Patterson did last year, Torrey Cox. Those guys do a really good job of diving into the film and knowing what their keys are and just going for it and pulling that trigger, Joey. So I thought he was fantastic doing that, even if it was just containing a guy on a screen pass at one point, containing Lowry on one run that I thought he had a chance to run for a first down if it wasn't for Xavier Scott. So, yeah, there are some good stats there, but I just thought you and I were talking back and forth, who's the star of this game? I gave it to the entire defense, but Xavier Scott was the guy to me that really, really stood out.
If he would have hauled down that interception, it would have been that would have been one of the finest interceptions. Ultimately ended up with like a foot ankle type thing. He was walking around just fine after the game. Brett Bielema didn't seem ultimately concerned. So just get that out of the way. Didn't seem ultimately concerned about Scott or Melvin Priestley. I know we'll talk about that shortly, Jeremy. But yeah, he was really, really good. Matthew Bailey, I thought, was good. But I continue to be really impressed by this defensive front, and not just Gabe It's not just James Thompson. I think Angelo McCollum's had moments. You've seen Alec Bryant tonight, I thought, was really, really productive. They continue to rotate guys in there, and I think they're doing it at a level that we haven't seen at this Illinois defensive front probably in Brett's tenure. There's been some star power on that line, but depth has not really been there.
Yeah. No, I thought some guys Pat Farrell had a sack today, right? Like, that was good to see. 9 tackles for loss today, 3 sacks, I believe, to end this game. And just were really disruptive up front. And listen, this Western Michigan offense is not that impressive, Joey. They rotated 2 quarterbacks. I don't know why Brock Lowry wasn't in the game earlier. It's just that there's so much more dynamic when you get his legs into the game, but they just really struggle to throw the ball downfield. So, but Illinois did a great job in what it had to do, and hard not to bring up. I thought the D-line did its job on that goal line stand, but phenomenal play by Kenan Odeluga. You had a great story on him and Larry Geese. I hope everyone reads. That was up on the site, still is, from this morning. But huge play for him. He played a lot more because they played their base defense today. Thought JoJo Hayden made some plays, but obviously that was just a game changer, Joey, to get that stop and to keep the 2 possessions lead at halftime. Otherwise, that felt like it could be fraught because they could have double dipped out of halftime. I didn't love the play call by Western Michigan. I would have kept the ball in Brock Lowry's hands. They handed it off to was that fullback, tight end? Number 2?
I liked the movement. I like trying to get misdirection. Ultimately, I want Lowry. Ultimately I want Lowry just to try to sneak into the end zone if I'm Western Michigan.
Yeah, so I don't know why they didn't do that, but kudos to Kenan Odeluga, made the play and made the tackle, right? Just to get there is one thing, but to make that tackle was a monster play. And it's just a second straight week that the defense really set up their offense. So just kind of like, hey, settle down. We got you. We'll keep you in the game. And then the offense had time. They just gave them time to get into a rhythm. So I thought the defense was the star of the game, obviously.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And just kind of a little bit of everywhere. I was going back through because before that Odeluga, they get down to the 1 on
a couple of defensive pass interferences.
Malachi Hood had the 2nd and 7 to get them down at the 1, and then 2 straight tackles for loss, tackles for no gain. That was a really big moment because if they score there, as you mentioned, double dip, and all of a sudden there's a kind of an anxiety floating around a little bit, right? It's a 10-7 game. The offenses looked really underwhelming.
Also, there's a bunch of confidence on Western Michigan's sideline if they score there, right?
And then all of a sudden it's a 3-point game going into the third quarter, and I think you could probably have felt it around the stadium. And then Western Michigan should have came out on fire, right? I mean, they ride that wave.
And to follow it up, the defense gets the 3 and out right away, right? Or was it 1 first down? But they get a stop right away, and they get the offense the ball, and it's all downhill for Illinois. So just great job by the defense and Aaron Henry and his crew. You feel like they're going to have a chance, right? They're going to give you a chance at Indiana. I don't think this is it's not like a dominating defense, right, Joey? This is like just a sound, deep defense.
They know who they are.
Yeah, like I was asking Matthew Bailey, I said, what have you learned about your defense through 3 games? He said, I'd have to go dive into the film a little bit more, but he said, I feel like we got a lot of dudes. We got guys, first, second team, that can all come in and make impacts. And I think that's what it is. Like, Gabe is obviously a star. I think James Thompson and the defensive front have been really good. Xavier Scott's a really good player and going to play in the NFL. Matthew Bailey's got a chance to play in the NFL, but it's not like Georgia's defense or something like, you know what I mean? Like that we've seen the last couple of years, or what Ohio State and Texas did in week 1, but it's just really sound, really experienced, and really deep.
Yeah. And the other part of it is you got a coordinator who understands the buttons on defense. I don't know what it's going to look like in Bloomington next week. But I have faith in Aaron Henry that he's going to roll in there with a plan that makes sense. I don't know. Will it be executed? Will everything come out great for Illinois? I don't know, but he's grown to the point. I feel like he has a really strong pulse on his defense and what they can and can't do and who individual players can and can't do, that I trust him to roll into Bloomington with at least an opportunity to give them a puncher's chance to leave Indiana, and give the offense, give the ball to Luke Altmaier and let him put something together.
Yeah. All right, you got another hit? I'll give it to you.
Oh, gosh, I closed out of it here for a second. I already had running back, second half offense, defense, Xavier Scott. I think I touched on
Can we dive deep? Can we dive deep then?
I want to because this is a good one because he also – go ahead.
Oh, you got it.
Olano?
Oh, you're going – you went there. Go for it, man.
Yeah, he finally had a kick. You pointed out, I was so disappointed. He finally had a kick return. The best – if you watch David Olano after kickoffs, one, he's just like – it's almost a guarantee start of the 25 for opposing teams. He does a slow little jog down. He goes all the way to the end zone. And tonight he was kind of looking – like David Olano is not a very big dude. He was kind of looking for a little trash to talk. And ultimately, he drew a shove, and he probably flew further than he needed to fly. But the more real point being is he is a really good Big Ten kicker.
Yeah, so David Olano, I think he started the year 23 for 23 on touchbacks off kickoffs. The final one of the game broke the streak. I was so upset. That was one of my favorite stats of the year. That's phenomenal. I mean, kickoff percentage, the team starting at the 25 every time, great stuff. And for him, that's huge for the NFL. Can I call him up to the Bears so that we can have a kicker that can kick it out of the end zone?
Does every doink just absolutely
just kick the ball out of bounds, Ben Johnson?
Yeah,
I knew that sitting in my house.
There was no sideline out of bounds. You're not getting it through the end zone. We've lost the plot here.
Oh, yeah. All right. Can I give another one? Bear here, the Bear Man. He's arrived.
Yes.
Plays on defense. Grant Bierman. You and I were wondering if he'd get in. Didn't see a lot of James Kreutz on defense today. He did not play all that well at Duke. No. Luke Zardzin was the second middle linebacker in today. Dylan Rosiak out. Brett Bielema sounds very confident he'll be back for next week, which is really important. Malachi Hood, pretty good game from him. I thought there was one in the hole where he missed a tackle and let him go for a little bit more yards. But Grant Bierman comes in the game, and you just see the talent, right? The length, the speed, and Brett Bielema said after the game he might be the most talented linebacker he's ever recruited to a school, which is saying something. He's had some linebackers play in the NFL, obviously. So I don't expect Grant Bierman's biggest impact to be this year, and I don't think he's going to pass up Dylan Rosiak and Malachi Hood. But, man, it's nice to see that talent on the field. And next year, Malachi Hood, Grant Bierman, that's going to be one athletic, long group of middle linebackers. They just haven't had that kind of talent at that position.
No, his first snap, he came off the edge, and it's like, oh, that is a lot of speed for Grant Bierman. To be clear, Brett Bielema said prior to the season that the only freshman that he thought would pass the 4-game threshold is Taiwan Cox. No, it was Zanai Scott. Sorry, yeah. Wrong brother tandem. So I still don't know that Bierman, even after what you saw tonight, I would be hard-pressed to think that is going to advance past 4 games. But it was a nice glimpse of, yeah, this kid is different than what they have in that linebacker room.
Yeah. Oh, so Lucas Asada had that kick?
Oh, Mark, my guy, Mark.
Let
me look in the stats.
I'm looking it up.
Not that I don't believe you, Mark.
Yes. Thank you, Mark.
Mark. Can we super chat, Mark?
Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Really
saving
made
us.
The night.
Oh, the streak is alive. 23 for 23. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Correcting us here. So I didn't see it. So somebody tweeted at me after the game. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. So thank you, Mark, for saving us on that. The streak is alive, Joe.
Man, that was good.
That made my night.
I also I don't understand what's happening here. Real quick, Sean brought up a good point. Ho-hum, 6 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown for Hank Beatty, who continues to be really stinking good. And when we're overlooking 6 for 53 and a touchdown, the touchdown was really, I'm glad Sean brought him up because it kind of slipped my mind. There's so much happening. Luke Altmaier looked like he was looking for Beatty in the flat, and it wasn't there. He made it. He looked left to try to make a read to the other corner of the end zone. did a good job improvising and rolling out. And I think this is really where you saw the connection that we've talked about with Luke Altmaier and Hank Beatty. Hank Beatty ran to the goalpost. He slipped behind his defender, ran to the goalpost, gave Luke Altmaier a window. Altmaier found him. That's that chemistry with quarterbacks and wide receivers, and it looked like they played a lot of ball together.
Yeah. Can I want to share my screen here for something. I always got to be careful with that, Joe. But I want to share it because it's kind of a big deal. Hank Beatty, number 2 in the Big Ten in receptions, 19 behind Jeremiah Smith with 20, just as we all projected.
It's my understanding Jeremiah Smith is a darn good football player.
Yeah, he's just behind him in receiving yards too. Mekhi Lemon from USC, who we'll see in a couple weeks, and Omar Cooper, who we'll see next week, right in front of Hank Beatty. Beatty, 289 receiving yards, 19 receptions, got that first touchdown of the season. So pretty damn good company for Hank Beatty. If he continues to do that, he might have a chance in the NFL as well as all those guys. So, yeah, definitely ho-hum for Hank Beatty, but he's the go-to target of this group. We should bring up that first half. Like some people were saying, those receivers need to catch the ball. That was Colin Dixon. That was a tough catch.
He was horizontal.
Malik Elzy, it would have been a tough catch. Now, here is the deal. Does Pat Bryant make that catch? Probably more likely that he does. Those aren't easy.
3rd-round draft pick, senior year, of course. Like
correct, but that was what we talked about. Like those are the kind of plays I talked about where it's like Pat can make those catches. Do they have the guys that can make those that won them games last year? The hope is you don't have to make as many of those catches to win games. But that's what made Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin so damn special. Great one-hander by Hudson Clement tonight on a quick throw. Luke made a great read to get it out to him right away on a quick throw. Is another kind of play call I love that Barry Loney made in the second half. But those aren't terrible throws. They're not on the money. Those are tough catches. I wasn't having an issue with the receivers on those because those are really tough balls to bring in.
Yeah, they're tough balls, and I don't even know how Colin Dixon's attempt at a catch could be anywhere put on him. I mean, it wasn't an altogether bad throw by Luke Altmaier, but Dixon was horizontal. I mean, he thought even getting your hands on it was a really good play, and it would be nearly was a spectacular play. Another wide receiver I do want to bring up real quick, Ashton Hollins. Mm-hmm. I thought that route he ran, he lined up just off the tackle, a little further off the tackle, and just we were talking like, what is this route? It was almost literally just like a horizontal or a diagonal line.
Wasn't it the game winner against Purdue where they just X'd Franklin and Bryant?
Probably right.
That was basically the route, but it was a different route tree on the other side. But yeah, it was just basically a straight line diagonal across the field. They ran, came open, great route tree combination because it got the safeties pulled over and big play. And they followed that up with the nice back shoulder play between him and Luke Altmaier to get the touchdown. Nice 2 plays there for Ashton Hollins.
Yeah, it was also the first pass to Hollins was a good ball from Luke. He put it just over the linebacker and got it right in there for Hollins. I don't know what this is going to be long-term this season for Ashton Hollins. A lot of receivers in front of him. His window for opportunity was here because Justin Bowick was not in the game. He left the game in the first quarter with an injury. We don't know what that is. We got to go back and watch to see because there was never like a is down on the field type thing. It was just he wasn't there a couple of drives. But Ashton Hollins has long been on the hey, this guy's really interesting, right? Like he would have
been the number 2 receiver in 2019 or 2020 probably.
Yeah,
right? He's number 7 on this.
But
team.
Yeah, since he got here, he's just kind of lived on the really intriguing list. Like I don't know what else to make of him right now, but he made a big play in a moment when his number was called, and I thought that was really encouraging from him.
It's just, man, Hank Beatty, 6 catches, 6 targets, right? Just 100% every time. Feels like when the ball goes to him, he's going to make that play. One miss for me would be some injuries from this game. Doesn't sound too serious for Xavier Scott, but that was, going to Indiana, I'm like, man, I want that guy 100% because as we talked about earlier in the week, I don't know how strong you are at corner.
That was another miss, but yeah, that was a miss for me. Right.
Yeah. Xavier Scott being hurt going into, Indiana against Omar Cooper, who just had a monster game. Elijah Surratt, who was an all Big Ten guy last year, big physical wide receiver. That position concerns me a little bit because Caleb Patterson doesn't look healthy, man. He's doesn't seem confident in his body right now, and he's just given such a big cushion, and he's just slipping on the turf a lot. tonight. And he didn't play the last couple series, which I thought was a good thing to get somebody else in. But man, you got some big physical guys. You're going to need Caleb Patterson. You're going to need Xavier Scott. So corner's still a big concern for me going into games against Indiana, some of the best wide receivers in the Big Ten, USC, next level guys on that team, and of course Ohio State in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm concerned about corner going in. I do think, it seems like they've kind of been building up a Jaheim Clark return, and really need him in Bloomington. And when he comes back, I don't know that I'd be surprised to see him out there starting. I think he's good. I think he's a guy that kind of overlooked how well he played down the stretch last season. But yeah, the injuries there, and Xavier was walking around fine after the game. I mean, that's not some medical breakthrough. I don't know what that means. We'll catch up with Brett Bielema Monday and throughout the course of next week. But you got to have him.
Melvin Priestley was out late in the game. He was limping around a little bit during the game, and then Desmond Schuster, which I love Desmond Schuster getting reps to get your swing tackle in the game and get him some game reps. But didn't sound too serious from Brett Bielema. He said that he wasn't concerned. Seemed like was his thought there.
Yeah, and Bowick he didn't have a lot of clarity on, so we will see how that progresses throughout the week. So yeah, those are guys that you don't want to pile up and kind of have that happen, but I will see how many of those are actually realistically could affect their availability at Indiana, because it does sound like Lawfer and Rosiak will be available, and you could be right now. It's a little uneasy, but you could be by next Thursday feeling all right overall.
Let me give another hit. Keelan Crimmins, he's good. Right, that first punt against Western Illinois is not a great first impression. It's been really good since then. 4 punts for 46.5 yards today, long of 53, 2 inside the 20. Tanner Heckel made a great tackle on one of them, so 2 over 50 yards. Keelan Crimmins looks really good. I got one last miss that I need to get off my chest. The weather, man. I'm sick of this heat. Let's move on from the summer. I'm done with this. I'm sure the fans hate it in the tailgates. Let's move on. Let's get to some fall weather, man.
Hey, I'm with you. This is so off topic. We're Bath and Body Works. We're Bath and Body Works candle. We're Bath and Body Works candle house. And there's a pumpkin waffles, and I have just been waiting every day. I'm like, hey, think it's cool enough to fire up the pumpkin waffles?
Light that candle.
Let's get moving. It's time. So then,
what high temperature do you need?
I will light that thing up at any point in time. That's going to be terribly clipped out of context. Can't wait to see that. We were talking about candles. I don't care, but it does hit a little bit better. I got back from Duke last week, and it hit pretty good. It was 70 out there. No one's here for the candle talk, but if you're a Bath and Body Works candle people, the pumpkin pecan waffles, electric.
Love it. Love it. Any other hits, misses that we missed before we get to Indiana?
No. Honestly, no, I don't think so. I just
did Alec Bryant. He was in on two sacks today, right? I thought we might actually get an Alec Bryant post game today.
Yeah, I think he met at the quarterback on one of the sacks with Gabe Akers, who ran a really nice stunt to find himself available. There was a tackle for a loss.
The other one was Odaluga.
Yeah,
he had Odaluga and Akers were the two that he combined with.
Yeah, I was. I don't know how much of a pressure generator he is, but there's something to be. You're thinking of Leon Lowry, Jeremy. Lowry had the sack. Alec Bryant had a half a sack. Lowry had one coming off. Yeah, but I do kind of like what they're mixing and matching. I thought Joe Barna had good reps, so I guess maybe the hit you're starting to see it build a little bit. Yeah,
Lowry did have a good game.
The hit might be non-Gabe Akers edge, right? And I think that's a thing that's been developing a little bit, but I do kind of like the group they're throwing out there. I also want to add, I thought JoJo Hayden continues to do stuff, man. I just think he continues to show up in plays that you notice him quite a bit.
I do want to mention Lowry because, man, he pursues the ball really well. When there's a big gain, he's always pursuing the ball and stops it for 6 yards instead of letting it go for 10 or 12. He's got twitch to him that I just don't think Bryant has. So getting him in that rotation with Daniel Brown out tonight, he got some extra reps, and I think he gained some confidence. And Brett Bielema mentioned him, and I think he said, okay, there's the guy that was our first transfer edition of the offseason. So it was good to see him have some good reps today.
Yeah, I think we also, I mean, just outside of the no doubt stars, this feels like a defense in particular that is going to be rotated heavily. Like, you're not going to rotate Gabe Akis, Dylan Rosiak, Matthew Bailey, Miles Scott, Xavier Scott, but there's a lot of other positions that maybe they don't have that one guy. Like, you know, you don't have your Seth Coleman opposite Gabe Akis, but you have 2 or 3 guys who go in there and kind of piece together production in a little bit of different ways. So I am encouraged with the way that depth is starting to emerge.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to the Indiana game. We'll get to your chats as well coming up next, right after another quick note from one of our great sponsors. With the fall football season here, my days are packed. When I'm not chasing the Illini around the country, reporting on them, or doing the podcasts, I'm chasing my kids around. So between my busy schedule and their crazy schedule after school, sometimes God is a couple of minutes. And Factor helps me eat smarter with tasty chef-prepared meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to my door. And now, with more than 65 weekly meals made for how I live and what I like to eat, I've got even more ways to fit in a real meal wherever the day takes me. And now Factor has more variety and more meals. Choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options that include premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. And savor global flavors. For the first time, try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. For more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. So eat smart at factormeals.com/Illini50off and use code Illini50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Illini50off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. All right, Joey, let's dive into a top 25 matchup. And I need to watch more Indiana. I don't know how much watching Indiana against their poor opponents that they've had so far is going to get us ready. And that's the advantage Illinois has, is they've been tested a little bit more going on the road to Duke. Yes, I know Duke lost at Tulane tonight. I still think that win can age well because I think they're going to win some ACC games. I think Tulane would make some noise in the ACC, but obviously they're not a great team. They're not going to be a top 25 team probably all season with that loss. But still, I think they've been tested on the road. Indiana is not. But Indiana is a really good team. They have good players on defense that are returning from a college football playoff team last year at every level of that defense. And they have a really good quarterback who's likely going to play in the NFL with good wide receivers, with Surratt, the big guy on the edge, and Omar Cooper can be a really explosive guy. So this is going to be a huge test, Joey, but this is the one they need. And you've set it up to be a huge game, a game that's going to be billed as a college football play-in. And it should, because whoever wins this game is going to be started to talk about like that kind of team. So great opportunity, just like last year in Game 4, going to Nebraska on the road, hostile environment, with the chance to gain a ton.
Yeah, it's huge. Brett Bielema mentioned it. I mean, that's what you set up for. They took care. Both teams took care. I mean, Indiana took care of literally exactly what Indiana was supposed to take care of, the way that non-conference was set up. But, yeah, you build for this. You want these moments that have eluded Illinois football. This stage has eluded Illinois football for decades. And now you've got this opportunity in Bloomington. It's going to be billed as a lot of things. Sean, I think College Game Day announced it is going to Miami next week, and I believe Big Noon Kickoff might be finding its way west. So you
know what you need? So. You need to win. You need USC to win next week, and maybe that can be the next week after that. Or you win the next 2 games, you're going to have a top 5 matchup against Ohio State in mid-October.
That might draw some people to Champaign. Yeah. That might draw a few studio shows to Champaign. But, yeah, it's exact kind of the thing that I'm interested with Indiana, and I think back to Luke Altmaier post-game last week. It was like Duke's speed surprised us, and I think Indiana's a really good team. I think Indiana's very, very well coached. I do wonder, it's kind of like the slow start meets can you get a little bit of a shock to them, right, with how you play, because they just haven't played a team like you, and can you use that battle-tested road kind of shell in Bloomington? You got to avoid a slow start to do it, but I just wonder if you can jolt them a little bit.
Man, what a big game.
Illinois, Indiana football. Big game.
Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it, Joe? Look at us. Look at us. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to lead up to this. we'll talk with Jeff Rabjohns and Matt Weaver at Peegs.com about this. Like, it's going to be a fired up matchup, and obviously not a big rivalry football wise, but two programs that haven't been doing stuff like this with a chance to really put themselves in Big Ten contention. I mean, Illinois got back to back. I think USC should be ranked. I think they should be. They've been really impressive. I think they're really explosive. That's going to be a really tough game, but back-to-back weeks to really build up and show what you are. And if they do win the next two games, Joey, even if they win one of the next two, you're at least putting yourself into a path where you could be a college football playoff team. And if you win both of them, you're putting yourself in Big Ten title contention. So just so much great opportunity. Huge test, Joey, but this is what Brett Bielema is built to put himself in this kind of situation, put the team and program in this situation where they have this opportunity the next 2 weeks to really awaken that sleeping giant.
Yeah, and the thing, I think if you're a fan, Brett Bielema's been here before. Maybe Illinois hasn't been here in a while as a program. Maybe a lot of these players haven't been here. Brett Bielema's been here, and I think he is really good at pushing the right buttons with his team. Kaneno DeLuga talked about that today. And can we get ahead of this real quick? There's going to be a lot of this kind of moniker thrown around this week as this game is built up. If this year's Indiana, and I know it's frustrated a lot of Illinois fans. And I understand because the build for this quote unquote this year's Indiana has been different. Indiana last year came out of the clear nowhere, and Illinois was a 10-win team last season. This would be more like South Carolina this year, right? But you're going to hear this year's Indiana over the course of the next 7 days. I think if I could help to just maybe ease some anxiety and more anger, frustration over it, think of it as when they say this year's Indiana, the third or fourth best Big Ten team. That is really what they're saying. Yeah, that the next wave of the Big Ten playoff participant. It's not necessarily an apples to apples because they don't align, right? Yeah. But just they're talking about who's that third, fourth Big Ten team that forces their way into the playoffs is really what they're saying. It just helps nationally. If you're in Utah or if you're in New York or if you're in Florida and you're not really familiar with it, it just helps them understand this year's kind of surprise, really, even in the right word, but that next group.
I can't imagine the amount of media requests Brett Bielema is going to get, but the good thing is he takes a few of them and really pumps his program out there. Let's get to some super chats, Joey. TCR Brad. Love seeing the defense generate TFLs. Do you guys suspect Aaron Henry will bring more pressure to help the secondary against spread offenses like Indiana, USC, and Ohio State? It'll be interesting. I got to watch a little bit more of some of those programs. I think you're going to see more. Do you trust this secondary to go one-on-one with some of these wide receivers they're going up against the next couple of weeks? I think the defensive front's really going to have to bow up and be good against the run and be really solid. I think it's going to be more game plans like you saw against Duke, against South Carolina. Be stout, keep them contained, keep them in front, tackle, make them go long drives, and hopefully get a couple takeaways.
Yeah, I think the pressure that I can see Aaron Henry dialing up is going to be really selective.
Yes.
You've seen him show off some safety blitzes. You saw Miles Scott come today. You saw Matthew Bailey come today. I think he's going to pick and choose his moments, and I don't think it's going to be the linebackers. I think he wants to bring pressure from ways that are quarterbacks, offensive coordinators are not expecting, which is why I think you've seen him sprinkle little nuggets through these first 3 games of where he's going to dial it up. It's not going to be Manny Diaz in terms of frequency, but I do think in terms of where it's coming from is going to be interesting.
Some fun battles, coordinators, like the battle of the minds the next couple of weeks is going to be a lot of fun to kind of break down and see what we have there. Troy had a couple super chats. Thank you, Troy. $4.99 here. Do you think Fagan needs more unique play calling to get him going earlier? They may not be able to accelerate enough behind the line of scrimmage. I think the entire run game. We got another question about the offensive line. I'm kind of going to say the same thing. Kind of talked about. I think you just need to counter some of the things the other team is doing earlier, and run that tempo, use the pass to set up the run. I think that's what this is, because Caden Fagan looked completely fine to me in the second half when you had that passing game going. You were going up tempo. Luke was in a rhythm, and they were on their heels. And then, a 6'3", 250-pound back is coming downhill. And I just think he gained some confidence. I thought today one of my hits was I wrote Caden Fagan confidence game. You want him to kind of roll that neck like Josh McCray did last year, right? Whenever he was feeling
Yeah.
good. Felt like Caden was doing that in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know that you need to get creative in terms of how you get Caden Fagan the ball. I think you need to get creative in how you set up the play
counters.
before
Yeah.
Caden Fagan's run and get those RPOs going light in that box. Don't let teams blitz you like crazy. Make them pay for that, then to let things open up for him. So it's not as much about creatively getting him, it's creatively setting him and Khalil Valentine and Aiden Lawfrey up.
$9.99 super chat from Def. I want to shore up gap integrity and eye discipline up front. Mendoza is a good straight line runner. Don't want to spring him for big plays with some zone read over pursuit that I saw versus Western Michigan and Duke. I actually thought they've done a pretty good job of bottling up these quarterbacks. Lowry had a couple runs in that second quarter when he came into the game, and I looked at you and go, he's going to run for a first down at some point on this drive. It's just that's what he showed on film, but I felt like their passing offense wasn't explosive enough with him to really threaten you. But those guys are going to make those plays. Luke Altmaier is going to make a few of those plays. You still got to make Mendoza beat you with his arm downfield, but he's really good, man. He's a really good transfer who has lived up to the hype so far. He just hasn't played a team like Illinois yet. Like Indiana has not played. They've played one ranked opponent under Kurt Cignetti, right? Or two. Notre Dame lost 2 in the playoff. Ohio State, they got destroyed by it last year. Now, Illinois isn't quite as talented as those two teams, but Illinois is one of the best teams they have played under Cignetti. So this is a big test for them to see what Indiana even is after all the cupcakes they've had. But it's a very good team, and it's a very well-coached team. Yeah,
I agree with all that. In terms of quarterbacks running, I feel a lot better about Illinois' ability to counter that because of how number 45 plays at linebacker and what he gives you in his emergence. More than anything else, the end of last season, like we've talked about how this linebacker room has grown. Malachi Hood is really in a lot of ways the guy we are talking about because he is such a good counter. If you're worried about Mendoza getting out there, Malachi Hood can erase a lot of things for you.
Mark, $19.99 super chat. Thank you, Mark.
We should pay that back for Mark, man. He saved us. Most important stat of the season.
Made my night with the Alano streak alive. The ability of this coaching staff to create solid game plans and adjust at the half or between series leaves me hopeful in the rest of the season. Cheers. I said it before the season, like I feel like you don't go into any game feeling like, oh man, just coaching disadvantage here for Illinois. It's a really strong coaching staff. Brett Bielema said after the game, it's one of the deepest rosters I've ever had. It's one of the best coaching staffs I've ever had. And I agree with that. Like there are moments, Lonnie wasn't great. I think Aaron Henry's had a pretty good year so far, but he'll get tested more the next couple of weeks. But there's moments, obviously, in Aaron Henry's career he has struggled, but they do bounce back. And I think Bielema does a great job developing not only his players, but his coaching staff and coaching the coaches. And he's hard on those guys. And he demands excellence out of those guys just as he does his players. So, but this is a staff next week that I think Indiana pretty good. I think Indiana could outcoach Illinois in a single game. But that's why I think the battle of the minds next week is going to be phenomenal. And then the battle of Aaron Henry against Lincoln Riley is going to be a lot of fun, right? So, but you feel like you got the coaches, as to Mark's point, Joey, to give you a chance to win these games the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I thought it was probably the reason Brett Bielema was as frustrated as he was at halftime because I think he collectively knows that his coaching staff is offensively better than what they put on the field in the first half. It is a good staff. So this kind of the ebbs and flows. So you take what it is, right, and the emotions that come with it. There's a lot of, like I've seen, whether it's on our boards or on here, like some Barry Lunny, like that's just someone, like the only one who's going to get in the way is Barry Lunny. I saw that was a comment. It's like, dude, he's a good coordinator. He's going to come up here Monday and tell us there were plays he didn't like, and that he needs to adjust better to pressures coming from various angles. Like that is all very true, but at the end of the day, he's a good coordinator. He just didn't have a very good half today, and he didn't have a very good half at Duke. The second half, both those weeks, were pretty stinking good.
A pluses. Scoring four touchdowns and 5 drives in the second half, 3 right away. And last week, 31 points. They scored on every drive they had until the very end of the game. Illini Bash, $5 super chat. Thank you, man. Is there a red shirt tracker floating around anywhere? Haven't done one yet because there hasn't felt like a need to, but now there will be. But there's not much that's happened. Zanai Scott has played in one game. Cedric White has played in one game. Braden Trimble has played in one game. Now we've had Grant Bierman play in one game, Cameron Brooks in one game. The reason I haven't really focused a lot of attention on that, Joey, is because, like, they have some good freshmen in this class. They don't need them to play, and they don't need to throw all these freshmen out. So I've seen some two deeps and how many freshmen are playing at some of these good, used to be good programs like Wisconsin. And Illinois doesn't have that. And that's a credit to their depth, their experience, and their retention.
Yeah, a lot of the one games of that Western Illinois game that you've seen. And that is one thing, though, I do want to monitor as you get into early October, because Brett Bielema has said before the season's, and Scott's the only one on that path. Things change, right? So there will be one or two freshmen that are going to change and that are going to push forward with that. So we are getting to red shirt tracker territory.
I usually wait a couple games.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, there's a world, Joey, where they can redshirt all of them.
I do that on NCAA all the time, man. It's straight up all the way through. It's great. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be
but there's a world.
I would say the number is probably under 5 that pass the red shirt.
Definitely. Yeah.
I just want, obviously injuries happen and things along those lines. People like Grant Bierman have moments where you do wonder, but this is an old team, a deep team, and this is a good freshman class that you would like to have those guys, even if that 5 for 5 ultimately comes through.
Yeah. All right. I think that does.
You want to do our nightly St. Dom check-in? He was having
how was St. Dom doing?
Oh, he was having a party earlier, man. He was cooking.
Def did have $4.99 super chat. I have worries and frustration, so I'll get myself to sleep. Saying 2001 was a second half team too, baby. It's not bad to be a second half team. It's not bad for your defense to keep you in a game, right? Like that's a good thing to have. Yeah,
I agree. You've seen like the evolution of Aaron Henry has been really important, and the evolution of depth on this defense has been really important.
All right, 2 more super chats, then we'll get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Paul, $10 super chat. I'm still impressed with how many receivers have caught passes thus far. I hadn't even heard of Hollins before tonight because he was the 7th receiver. He's the 7th receiver on this team, and I made mention of it before. He would have been number 2 or 3 in some of the years before Bielema arrived and maybe even Bielema's first year. That tells you the depth that they have. But Hudson Clement made some plays tonight. I thought Colin Dixon – I don't know why Colin Dixon is getting the slightly off throws from Luke Altmaier, but he's been there, man, and – they ran a screen pass to him that was so well timed on a blitz, and I love him getting upfield on those. Malik Elzy didn't get a lot of targets tonight, but Justin Bowick has been really good. I thought the first quarter he was playing really well, and I thought they missed him a little bit in that second quarter. So, yeah, it's a deep wide receiver room. Hank Beatty's turned into that star, but, man, like Luke can go to most of these guys, Joey, and feel like he's got a chance to make a play.
Yeah, there was a point late in camp where it kind of became one of those – you keep hearing about, it's multiple guys. Ultimately, that has leveled out to Beatty, and I do think Dixon will be there. But I have been really impressed with the actual functional depth of this room. It's not just an idea. You have seen that come to fruition more. I do think that will tighten up as you get further along. I do think it'll ultimately be Beatty, Dixon, Bowick, Elzy, Clement. And those will be your primary 5 moving forward. But it is nice to be able to withstand 3 quarters without Justin Bowick and having Ashton Hollins to put out there.
Not a lot of targets to tight ends to begin the season. I'm okay with it because these receivers are better. Receivers are better.
They docked the tugboat.
They did tonight, didn't they?
Kind of put away a little bit.
All right, last one. Alani Bash 3, $5 super chat. Other than Parker, which position coach is impressing you the most so far? That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Dad Ward? I love what I see out of Khalil Valentine and the development there, man. And for Caden to have this bounce back performance, kind of know what his issues are, and he shouted out Thad Ward for a lot of that too. So I think he's been great, and Terrence Jamison is always good. This defensive line is better than I thought it was going to be in the early going. Much bigger tests coming up, but I feel really confident. They got some. I feel like this is the most talented and deepest. Well, maybe not most talented because Johnny Newton was on this team for a few years and Keith Randolph was with them. They had some next level guys. It's definitely the deepest. But, man, James Thompson and Tomi Wadura-Ajayi are very talented. So to put them along with Gabe Akis up front with the depth you have at outside linebacker. Joe Barna made a couple pressures today. I just feel like I feel like Jameson always gets the most out of him. Somebody told us before the year, Terrence Jameson's a miracle worker, and he's one of the best in the business. So he's always good.
The best way I can think about how to put the defensive line is in 2022, 23, like Johnny Newton, Keith Randolph were grading like 95% on their test. T-Rod Edwards was grading like 87 on his test, right? And then the rest of the room was young, inexperienced, just maybe not as much talent. And they were probably somewhere in that like 63% on their test. Now everyone is
felt like they were like a grade ahead. Like they were trying to do it a grade ahead.
So now like everybody is constantly there's some within a standard deviation of like 80%, right? Or 75%. I hope that makes sense. That's the best way I can put it is
like their backups are giving you C performances rather than D or F, right? It wasn't their fault. It's just they were so young.
They weren't ready at that point.
No.
Two other coaches I want to bring, which literally I've named 4 coaches with this question asking us to pick one. I think Justin Steppen actually being able to have all of those guys ready to contribute from a game-to-game basis has been really impressive. And Archie McDaniel is really good at his job. And to have Malachi Hood build on what he did last season, to have JoJo Hayden show up back into the inside linebacker room this offseason, maybe even later in the offseason, and have him be as consistent as he's been to this point, he's a coach that, like, you and I have talked about him in pretty high regard, but I think people need to be thinking about him big picture moving forward with his own career because he's really impressive.
The other guy I want to mention, Aaron Henry's a pretty good safeties coach too. Like I just think these guys are so smart, so sound, and just the backbone of the defense. They just don't make a lot of mistakes, man. And I know that might be boring, but boy, it pays off. Like when you just don't have a lot of busts in coverage, like they've had some corners lose some one-on-ones, but like there's always someone to clean it up. So whether that's Matt Baylor, Miles Scott, or Matt Krasetich, or Xavier Scott being a nickel, I think that group's really well coached too.
Yeah, it's because of that. Like you ask a lot of college quarterbacks to be consistent for 7, for 8, for 9 plays, and to not get frustrated when your 15-yard chunk isn't there. The only way to get it's for yards after the catch, and you got like that can be frustrating to have to make a 7-8 yard pass and hope something happens. So it's not always sexy. And I think that was kind of what we saw in the Duke game turn up. I would imagine if Illinois has success in Bloomington, it'll be similarly kind of designed, but it's been effective. And that's been the most important thing.
All right, we've been here for about an hour. We appreciate all you guys, more than 300 people around midnight for showing up and hanging out with us. We appreciate all your super chats. If you're still on the YouTube channel, hit that like button, subscribe to us, hit the notifications bell so you're notified every time we do one of these live ones. But if you're listening on the podcast as well, follow us, rate us, review us. I'll have a column from tonight about Brett Bielema's halftime theatrics. Joey will have some great stuff from the players afterwards. I thought Caden Fagan was fantastic. I know Joey's going to write up a little bit about him. So we'll have all that coming to the site at Illini Inquirer. If you're not a VIP member, try the first month for just $1 and try us out. And we will have you covered throughout the week in the build-up to one of the biggest games of the Brett Bielema era, heading to Indiana, top 25 matchup, trying to rise in those college football playoff contention talks and rise in the Big Ten, man. Illinois starts off 3-0, has a world ahead of them in the Big Ten, but they got 2 huge tests. Thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Follow us, rate us, review us wherever you get us. For Joey Wagner, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great night. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.